Thank you to the Trust for the opportunity to present. As indicated, I work for Fish and Game, and I've been asked to present a recreational perspective. Now, recreation of the type that I'm talking about in terms of fish life, and I don't just limit that to sports fish. I include native fish, the aquatic invertebrates that native and sports fish use. So the interest in the sectors that I have been working for and represent have a keen interest in water quantity, that is adequate flows in our rivers, and water quality. What I will be somewhat different than the other presenters. I'll be presenting a bit of technical information, and I hope it's understandable. And I guess the question that we've come here tonight to answer is, Canterbury Water, are we doing enough? And I'll present some snapshots and snippets that may help you work out how things are going. It's useful to keep in mind some of the controlling parameters. We have a recent national policy statement, freshwater management, and these are useful goals to keep in mind as we go through this debate. One of those is to safeguard life-supporting capacity of fresh water and to ensure ecosystem health. It also involves maintaining water quality, and where water quality is degraded, that it be improved. So these are useful goals for keeping in mind. To present a bit of information about the fisheries, and I guess similar to what Ken showed in his slide, this is the angler usage in Canterbury rivers excluding the alpine rivers. So it doesn't include the large lakes, large rivers. What it does concentrate on are lowland streams. That's the problem, I had it upside down. But it does concentrate on our lowland streams and backcountry headwater fisheries, and also canals, and that's a new feature in our region. And essentially what this shows, and there's three sections at the bottom. The first is the picture for the North Canterbury Fish and Game region. The middle is the picture for Central South Island Fish and Game, and then combining those, because those two regions largely make up the Canterbury region. Essentially what this shows is that the angler usage of the lowland streams has declined significantly. And that clearly relates to the conditions that are found in those rivers and streams. So since this is based on a statistically sound telephone survey on a national basis, and essentially the angler usage of the lowland streams has, on a Canterbury-wide basis, has been reduced by 50%. And I think that sets the picture for the kinds of concerns that we have. Interestingly enough, some of the backwater, headwater fisheries are increasing, and I'm picking that we do these surveys every 7 years, and I'm picking that we're in the process of doing one now. I'm picking that this year the canal fisheries that you'd be aware of in the hydro canals will largely explode. So that's in terms of angler usage. Now some of the water quality, and it's been talked about nitrate and phosphate. Nitrate in some of the Hines catchment streams, lowland streams, are currently in the range of 12 to 14 milligrams per liter. Now that won't mean mean a whole lot, but consider that level is 4 times the water quality limit that's listed for lowland streams in the Land and Water Regional Plan, and it's some 15 times what the ANZEC guidelines, ANZEC is the Australian New Zealand Environment and Conservation Council. They set guidelines that relate to ecosystem health and to contact recreation. So the concentrations in those streams are some 15 times greater than the ANZEC guidelines currently. In terms of some of the, this is a survey of the dabbling ducks. Dabbling ducks are largely mallard and gray duck. And essentially what this shows, we do, again, statistically based surveys across both North and South, both North Canterbury and Central South Island region. And it's easy to see that there's an increasing trend over the 7 years of the survey time. Interestingly enough, we put that increase largely down to the increasing prevalence of on-farm storage ponds, which creates water for dabbling ducks, and it seems that they're responding. Something similar for paradise shell duck. Again, it's easy to see that it's an increasing trend, and again, we believe probably relates to on-farm storage ponds. Now, just to get maybe a little bit technical, but I hope the visual impression will be able to come through. What does a current snapshot of outcomes look like as it has been surveyed and studied by NIWA scientists, Dairy NZ, etc.? So again, this is a very complicated chart. Essentially, upper left-hand corner, you have a picture of nitrates. Top right-hand, phosphate. Bottom left-hand, turbidity, which is a measure of water clarity. It tells you how much sediment is in the water. And the right-hand bottom right-hand corner is E. coli. Now, this is taken from a paper that surveyed 5 streams across New Zealand. The one that relates to my region is the Waitaki, and the others are mostly North Island regions. To get the picture, the solid line across each of these is the ANZEC guideline. So what this shows is that these are catchments where good management practices have been implemented over a 8 to 10, sometimes 13-year period, and this is the resulting picture. So in terms of nitrate, you can see that the nitrate over the 8 to 10-year period is increasing. You can see that the nitrates are increasing. They also looked at the application, and the application of nitrates increased 3%, but there was a corresponding 20% increase in dairy farm production. So I think what I'm trying to point out is the difficulty of balancing one of the goals one of the targets of the Canterbury Water Management Strategy, which is to increase irrigated land, at the same time ensure and protect and improve the resulting water quality. I don't wish this to be a criticism. I wish it to be. I give farmers, I've had a lot of involvement with the Waitaki farmers. I give them real credit for the bravery in starting this exercise. The Waitaki catchment is 96% fenced. And you can see that the turbidity in this chart on this side has shown the effects. Part of the message I'm trying to give too is that some of these problems aren't that easy. And simply looking at effluent effluent discharge, which in the Waitaki has gone to 0 into streams. The point I'm trying to make is that some of the solutions aren't that easy. And I'm attempting not to be negative. I'm attempting to be realistic and look at reality. So in terms of that reality check, there are a number of management tools that are suggested to improve water quality. And these are all positive sorts of tools, but again, I want to stress the reality. And I looked back into some of the modeling, and of course these are all based on models, and of course with models you have assumptions. And a report that I got that talks about the current definitions of good management practices, when things such as stocking rate, fertilizer application, and technological advances were considered, the model seemed to be, in terms of the model seemed to say, well, it does say, that it's assumed that the current practice is a good management practice. And I'm not sure that that's correct. I think it gives possibly a rosier picture than what it should. And again, I'm trying to be realistic, make sure that we're heading down a path with real terms. So good management practice, yes, it's good, but let's be realistic as to what it can achieve. Maximum feasible mitigation, that's another term that's being used in the modeling, and some of the, and I'm having real too many moving parts. Maximum feasibility mitigation, that's the maximum technological inputs that you can make to achieve better water quality. And some of the features there are certainly real, such as nitrification inhibitors, variable rates, irrigation rates for particular soils. All of those are good, but it seems to me that something like the nitrification inhibitors, it seems like that has to be applied very widespread for that to be a factor that actually improves and sets you on a trajectory of improvement in terms of water quality. Managed aquifer recharge, that's been mentioned earlier. The views differ as to the benefit of that. Some specialists say that it at most will improve flow 20%. And I don't know, it just seems to me that there might be a better way to focus the use of that water. And maybe the alpine water is a part of that answer. 5 minutes, thank you. And then farm environment plans, obviously a good step, but just let's keep in perspective what they can achieve, and some of the limitations for overseer have already been mentioned. But it is a useful tool. It's probably the only thing we have, and it needs to be developed and improved. Actually, I'll just go back a ways. So in terms of a way forward, I believe that we have to set challenging limits, and I say challenging to the extent that that it is a challenging limit that is sufficient to make a difference, but is also sufficient to foster incentive to achieve the benefits. I'm also a fan of, rather than relying on models to indicate your your outcomes, to me the real outcome is in terms of the environmental outcome, the measurement of the water quality at the end of the farm, into the stream, at a node point. That to me is the real measure of success. And there also has to be meaningful feedback loops. And by that I mean introduce some practices, monitor the environmental outcomes. If it's not going in the right direction, then you need to be able to feed back to those management applications. And without strong feedback loops, I'm not sure that you can get there. The Waitaki catchment, which I have some knowledge about, it has a very useful place for measuring that, and that's Lake Benmore. And the attempt has been to set a trophic level in Lake Benmore, and then feedback loops that would, depending on how the trajectory went in terms of water quality in Lake Benmore, then you have feedback loops that say, okay, something has to change. And so that's what I think success will look like. Let's keep it real and realistic as to what can be achieved. And I'm not saying it to be negative. I'm saying it, let's don't think that something is going to have a very positive effect and then find 5-10 years down the track that, oops, it's not quite having the effect. Let's go into these practices with a realistic view. And of course, what success will look like, in my mind, will be an environmental outcome where we have healthy ecosystems side by side with productive, financially sustainable farming practices that are good for the community. It's really the community is always the goal that we should be looking for, whether it's and that includes environmental, social, cultural, economic. All of it has to come together, but let's do it with reality in mind as to what can be achieved and how long it might take. Thank you very much.